Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Impact Series hosted by 4Zero. I will be your host today. My name is Michael Palmer, founder and lead recruiter here at 4Zero. Today, delighted to be joined by Thomas Gros, who is the co-founder and CEO at a brilliant company based in Berlin called Circuli. So firstly, Thomas, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
So, look, Thomas, we met at the Coffee Break for the Planet event recently. We've had a number of conversations since. A man with an impressive track record, impressive background. But so, look, for those people that are not familiar with you, those people who are not familiar with Circuli, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Where the idea for perhaps Circuli came from, and of course, a bit about Circuli. The climate issues that you're helping to address, and your solution to those problems as well.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. So maybe briefly starting with my background. So I'm effectively have been building digital ventures for over 10 years now in various different constellations. Actually, quite a few of those in the US market, but also had the chance for the past years to do that here in Europe. And I did that, both for actually working as a C-level operator for companies that were already up and running, but also had the chance to really build a few of those from scratch. Some of these 4 clients, and I did that as essentially as a hired company builder while working as a consultant with a focus on venture building. So quite some experience in getting companies from 0 to 1 state, and then also a few stints where I had the chance to get the company from 1 to the next level. I had through COVID sort of a phase of reflection where I realized I needed to do something with purpose. So I had built several ventures that really, I would say, in the core, the products were not necessarily revolutionizing the world, right? They were effectively meeting consumer needs, but when you really drill down to purpose and what was actually the outcome, the societal outcome of the company, of these ventures, one could argue they were not necessarily things that the world truly needed. And I felt compelled in COVID, perfectly went through a phase of reflection, realized I needed to do something with purpose as my next gig. And I had the chance to meet the leadership of an IT leasing company that ultimately became my co-founder, and is a large IT leasing company that serves and leases devices to the large companies of the world. So blue chip enterprises are their customers. And after 2 years, these devices come back from these leasing agreements. And we saw the opportunities. We were putting our heads together and exploring new venturing ideas. We saw the opportunity to extend the value chain for this leasing company and serve small to mid-sized businesses with pre-owned IT. So effectively, what we do is we grade these IT leasing devices that are coming back from these agreements. They go through a very thorough and multi-step quality control process where we check functionality like RAM, battery, space, desk space, and so forth. But we also do visual checks, and what we try to do is really pick the best cherries for B2B customers. So what we focus entirely on B2B, and why do we do that? Because we saw white space there. We didn't see adequate offerings for B2B businesses in pre-owned IT hardware. So everybody who knows pre-owned IT knows that there's quite a lot of offerings out there for consumers.
Yeah.
Um,
Back market and refurbed.
That's right. That's right. So you obviously have shopped on these already before as a conscious consumer, but the question is like how many companies do you know that equipping themselves with really pre-owned IT? So the reason why that is that we're just not good offerings out there. So what we try to do is really design an offering that works for businesses. That means that the quality of the device already is from the start much higher than for B2C. And we do that because by installing a centralized quality process, multi-step process that grades and really filters out the very best quality, but then we add a service on top. So devices alone does not solve the problem really for companies. They need to have a process that is thought through end to end, that an example, right, sends you the right invoices. If you're B2B, if you're a B2B customer, you need different invoices than if you're a consumer, right?
Yeah, of course.
Terms and conditions need to be different, but also the customer service. So we developed sort of an entire end-to-end solution that works for businesses. And that basically kind of brings me to where we are today. We're now a year post-launch. We serve over 400 paying customers, many smaller customers, but also some larger or let's say smaller companies or mid-sized companies, if you will. And we see that our customers really like the product. We see that the quality is right. We see that our NPS is very high for standards. And what we ultimately pursue as an environmental goal is the reduction of CO2 and e-waste. So the entire premise of or the motivation really for us to sell and rent pre-owned IT to small to mid-sized businesses is that we extend essentially the lifetime of devices, and by doing that we push out the production of new devices, and that has two effects. One, it reduces the CO2 that is emitted in the production of new devices, but it also reduces e-waste. And maybe just to put that into proportion or give you a sense for the magnitude. So a monitor or device, any device with a LED or with a display with LEDs will produce sort of in the magnitude of 300 to 400 kilograms of CO2. And by essentially extending the lifetime, we push out the production of new devices, and that reduces in turn the amount of CO2 that is being emitted. And more or less, a device will emit, let's say the equivalent of 3 national flights in CO2. So that's like 400, let's say roughly 400 kilograms of CO2. And we can save, or our customers really, by using our pre-owned devices, they effectively save over the usage time of these devices up to 70 or 80% of the total CO2, which is quite a huge number.
Huge chunk, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So it's amazing because I mean, and from Circuli's perspective, you're like almost like a one-stop digital shop, right, for SME businesses, so small to medium-sized businesses, sustainably minded, sustainably focused, well, not just sustainably focused, but companies that want to buy pre-owned IT equipment as opposed to brand new equipment. But you've got the whole suite of products, haven't you? So it's not just laptops or desktops. You've got monitors, accessories. You've got everything there, right, under one roof, where someone could come and purchase the equipment from you. But what I really like about it is that you've got that offer, and you're kind of like you said, there isn't anything there of that that kind of with that ease or that scale for businesses. But there's some really significant benefits to, let's say, I was to come to Circuli and purchase our IT equipment for 4.0, but there's obviously there's the CO2 savings, which you've mentioned there, But you've also, but there's a cost saving as well, because this is grade A, top quality items, obviously, that you're then able to extend the life. So the cost of those items is cheaper. But also you mentioned an incredible stat to me earlier about the amount of e-waste as well. So can you elaborate a little bit on the kind of the amount of e-waste and savings that there are on that side of things as well?
Yeah, that's right, Michael. And really the second environmental impact and, let's say, motivation for us to do what we do is reduce the amount of e-waste that is produced every year. And it is a staggering number that I'm going to share with you right now. We're talking about over 50 million tons of e-waste every year that are being produced, and that number is growing, and that is the equivalent of the weight of the Chinese wall. That's what we produce as humans.
That's a mind-blowing amount of just for one category of waste, just for e-waste, not anything else. We're just e-waste, right? Just
e-waste, exactly. And that obviously includes also consumer e-waste, right? Includes also B2B e-waste, but as we said before, there's quite a lot of solutions already going after the B2C opportunity. B2B still is a major contributor of that, and we feel we have a ton of runway to make an impact and a contribution to a more sustainable planet by extending essentially the pre-owned market for professional use. So what we really do is we professionalize really that market, and we move it upscale. We are able to convert new buying companies to pre-owned buyers, and that really is the impact. So it's both CO2, but is also e-waste. And I think maybe just to touch on the cost savings as well, which you mentioned before, which is also quite a big motivation for many of our customers. We deliver typically around 50% of cost savings compared to buying new. Of course, you lose some lifetime because they're per definition, right, they have been used before. But on average, let's say you lose 2 years of lifetime out of 6 or 7, which is makes it 30 or 25% of lifetime, but you save around 50% cost compared to new, because effectively the value behaves very much like a used car, right? As soon as you use it, you lose a lot of value. So we buy our laptops right at that inflection point where the curve has actually flattened quite a lot. So the value erosion post the first 2 years is effectively minimal. But you have effectively the benefit of a very high quality device, which runs, in our, looking at our stats, in over 90% of the case without any issues, right? So customers do not lose further time. If they do, we have a customer service that exchanges devices super fast. We're very proud of an NPS that is over 60 with our customer service, over 400 customers a day. So yeah, it seems the solution is working, and appreciate really the opportunity to talk to you about this, because really our main focus right now is to reach more customers, right? So the more companies we're able to serve, the bigger our impact, and that's really where we're at right now. And one of the other things that we talked about briefly before is obviously recruiting. That's your expertise. So talent is one bottleneck for us as well. But yeah, that's where we're currently at in our journey, and really what drives us.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll pick up on a couple of points, but I really, when you've got a product or a service that that is kind of meets the cross section where we're talking about significant cost savings, so there's a direct benefit to the bottom line of a company, but also there's there's significant huge savings in regards to the amount of CO2 from the production, because obviously you're not buying a brand new item, so it's not needing to be produced again, and you're saving on e-waste. I mean, that really just hits the sweet spot. For me, I've said it before in quite a few of these videos, but it feels like an absolute no-brainer. So, as a business, if you need to go out and acquire, however many laptops, desktops, monitors, yeah, if you're going to get almost, a brand new, almost like as good as a brand new perfect item, it costs less and it's better for the environment. Why would you not choose that? Yeah, why? And I think that's more and more, this kind of collective consciousness. More and more people, more and more businesses are waking up to that. And actually, it can be, I think, also almost like a selling point to your employees. Well, so you've got, you're using a grade A pre-owned laptop that is better for the environment and is avoiding e-waste. I think a lot of employees would actually welcome that, as opposed to necessarily just receiving a brand new laptop because it comes out of the box and you've got the cellophane on it.
Yeah.
So
it's a really interesting point, Michael, that you're raising, because we, of course, we do have some customers that, have the paradigm and live the paradigm of buying new because, their employees are, worth it, right? So because employees want to feel like, they deserve the latest and greatest Apple device or whatnot. And
yeah,
thank God we're seeing, change of consciousness and change in paradigm where people are really opening up to that idea. But I think it's really also how we're presenting the product and how we're advising our customers. And we've had, multiple situations where, in fact, we've also equipped our customers with the right talking points and materials and facts that, some of the facts that we talk about to communicate this internally. And we did see, and we get the feedback that many employees, in most cases, in fact, welcome the shift, right?
Yeah.
They welcome this because they say it's not just a value that we have somewhere in our annual report on our website, but we're living that internally. And it's such a simple, we really believe it's such a simple step to use pre-owned IT, or green IT as we like to call it, to make a contribution which pays by itself, right? The ROI is instant. And maybe one other point, Michael, that we haven't talked about, it's the availability of devices. Of course, today with chip shortage, supply chain crunches and so forth, if you buy a larger amount of devices, you may have to wait, months to get these, right? That means, unproductive, employees, right? Frustrated employees, frustrated IT administrators who get pressure from the organization to, have, minimal downtime. We provide a solution that's very, very fast. So we deliver within, 1 to 2 days.
Amazing.
We deliver to employees' homes, right? Which is, I think, a really nice asset. So we're able to send individual devices to employees' homes working remotely. So really, at the end, it's really taking out all the friction, right? So of course, we hope that most of our customers come and test or try our service really for environmental motivations. But I would say we have also quite some customers who are really just purely looking for the cost savings and the convenience and the availability of devices. And I think the combination of these things hopefully will help us, really build a new category successfully.
I'm a big fan. I think it's, we from the conversations we've had, I think it makes so much sense on so many different levels. And it's like a very simple idea, as some of the most simple ideas are. Using what's already in circulation and just giving it another life. It is a very simple idea, but it's being done particularly well by yourself and the team, Thomas. So we're happy to kind of to watch that and hopefully be a part of that in the future. But one of the things you mentioned there about talent, and I wanted to pick up with that about you as well, because I know that you're a big believer in talent. Obviously, you're a big believer in kind of investing in talent. So what does sort of some of the keys to your success? What do you think has been some of the kind of some of the best moves you've made so far from in setting up the business?
Yeah. So I'd say some of the most important things that we've done, and I think hopefully will pay out in the long run, is that we've invested early on in, really building a proper recruiting engine internally. And I think we have the advantage, of course, that, we're equipped with the resource to do so. And we still believe in, external recruiting, right? So your firm, I think, is in the sweet spot of I think a major, I think where the market is clearly going, right? Like finding people that have the right expertise, the right talent, and the right passion, right? And truly believe in making a difference in the world, by working on products that solve real, sustainability issues. So what we did early on is we hired our own recruiter, and I, personally as a CEO of the company, spent, let's say a significant amount of my time to help source, but also evaluate talent, onboarding them. I welcome every single employee personally. I give them an onboarding session, and I really believe in ultimately finding, building a team that, feels like a tribe that is going after, this really hard mission that we all need to go after. I think at the same time, what we also realize that, sourcing talent is not trivial, right? It requires, especially in the market that we're in right now, if I look at sales, for example, sales roles are very, very tough to fill.
Yeah.
It feels like the entire market is recruiting for sales talent, right? It's trying to grow. So we found it almost as difficult as hiring engineers to really grow our internal sales team. And it's important for us because we're selling really we're selling a premium brand in a new category. We need to explain our product, and we need to really consult our customers. So there's quite a lot of advisory that goes into the sales process, even though you think, oh, we're selling a commodity, but there's obviously hurdles, and there's question marks from our customers who've never used pre-owned IT before and in a business environment. So all this requires us to be, really pick the right people, not just from an experience standpoint, but also from a motivational and cultural standpoint.
Well, I mean, and look, we're big advocates of that. Making sure. So our model is centered around making sure that we put people into our customers' businesses who share the same values, who are motivated to make an impact, and really it's all boils down to is purpose. So if you're bringing people into your business that share your purpose, that like that tribe environment where everybody's kind of pushing towards the same goal, and people they get up for work in the morning and they believe that there's a real purpose to what they're doing. That's where you kind of get the sweet spot of this engagement, and that's where I've spoken to so many people about this in the past, but that term engagement, what does it mean? But it's where someone is working, from their perspective as an employee, they're gonna get more from their job. So they're gonna have better levels of health and well-being. They're gonna be more fulfilled. And also, to be honest with you, Thomas, they're probably going to stay in your business for longer as well. So as an employer, you're getting someone that's feeling much more motivated, that's performing at a much higher level, and they're probably going to be much more loyal. And so that's what we try and focus on as a business at 4.0. Trying to kind of hit that sweet spot. And like you said, I mean, look, we recruit, as you know, our kind of area of expertise is kind of tech and software, but I mean, sales and marketing, people in kind of different roles as well. There's just as much demand for people in sales, marketing, ops, finance within companies like your own, Thomas, within the green tech and the climate tech space. So for anybody who's watching this, that's not just not a software engineer, but a salesperson, obviously get in touch with Thomas. But if you are, it doesn't matter what your job is in a business, there's a job for you within climate, within green tech. And so that's kind of part of what we're trying to do here, Thomas, is kind of spread the word, let people know about the sorts of companies, the sorts of missions that people are on. And with people like yourself trying to change the world and hopefully inspire some people or kind of give them an idea to look at the sector. And not just look at your kind of typical industries like your finance or manufacturing. Look at the green tech space, look at the climate tech space, and see if there's something that really really kind of takes your fancy.
Yeah, and I think, Michael, you're spot on. I think, and again, I think what you focus on as a firm, I think, is a really critical, area that we, as a, let's say, sustainability entrepreneurial ecosystem, really need. Right, is really finding quickly not only the right talent, but the right, the people with the right passion, the right mindset. And I, we're experiencing this at the beginning. We of course also did a few mishires, and we learned kind of the hard way. And I truly fundamentally believe that this combination of finding not only expertise but mindset and cultural fit, passion is super critical, especially if you're really getting from that phase from 0 to 1. You need people who are willing to design things. They're willing to build things. It's not a regular job. You're not just going in there and saying, asking someone to do something and repeat a process 50 times. You're asking, in fact, them to help you build the process. And that really makes a difference. And I think we're in a thankful situation, although we have a corporate strategic partner, backing us. We operate very independently. We make our own hiring decisions. We move very fast. We try to really ultimately also live the agility of what you'll find and look for in a startup. And that also is reflected in how we recruit. We make offers very fast when we find the right person. I think that agility, and if you're in a lucky position like we are, that we have a chance to pay a recruiter to do so, otherwise people should go in your direction to get help. But and we will certainly also find have roles where we will need external recruiting. But I think that's really where the magic ultimately starts, in any startup, right? In that phase, finding that core group of people who thinks like an entrepreneur, like entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that that early group and that early crop of people you bring in, they really shape the culture for for the next 50 people that come into the business. So it's imperative that for anyone setting up any kind of business, not just a green tech or a climate tech business, to get that right. And like you said, you're not always going to get it right, and you'll definitely learn more from the ones you get wrong. Yes. As I have over the past, as to know what it is exactly that doesn't look right for your business. But look, that's what I suppose we're here to kind of mitigate that and kind of try and kind of wipe those bad hires away as much as possible. But look, Thomas, it's been fantastic chatting with you today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I think what you're doing at Circuli and the service you offer is fantastic. So hopefully it'll inspire. Hopefully some people who've seen this will get in touch. Perhaps some good salespeople will see this as well, and they can get in touch too. And we'll include your details in the comments so that they can easily find you on LinkedIn and reach out.
Fantastic, Michael. It was a true pleasure, and looking forward to staying in touch, working together, and best of luck to you and for Zero as well. You're obviously onto something big, so much looking forward to continuing the conversation and the partnership. Yeah, likewise. Feelings very mutual, Thomas. So I'll let you go now, and I'll chat to you soon. Okay. All right. Sounds good, Michael. Talk soon. Bye bye.